there also happened to be like a meeting at the church for this other spiritual program that I'm in, right next door to Sister Lucia's. So I'd wake up in the morning, 9 a.m., I'd go to my meeting, and then 10 a.m. I'd be with Sister Lucia, and then 11 a.m. I'd be with Brother Jude, and then 12 I'd be with Father James, who's now in Burnley. But Father James was like this. Father James felt like an old sheriff. Right. I don't know if you met Father James.
Sure, yeah.
He's like this. He's like a grandfather.
Right.
His hand is enormous.
Yeah.
He made me feel safe. He would just put his hand on my shoulder sometimes, and he wouldn't say much to me. He wasn't, but he was also like this Archie Bunker character, where like his love felt like you had like you were pulling it out of him.
Yeah.
But he was always around, and I started falling into this group, and I'm living there, so I'm taking showers in there, and I'm eating with them, and we're hanging out. And
they're drawing you into the Christian, the Catholic thing. They're kind of drawing you into the gospel, into a certain way of life.
But more than that, it's not even like they're drawing me into like laughter. They're like sharing jokes with me. It's like we're just like hanging out. And at this time, I had no friends in my life.
What did Jesus do with people when he first met them, typically? He'd eat and drink with them. So you think of Jesus, well, he's giving the Sermon on the Mount. Well, yes, he does, but the typical move of Jesus was, well, let's get around the table and we'll talk.
Yeah.
And he's talking to prostitutes and sinners and tax collectors, and so that move of theirs, to kind of draw you in.
Yeah.
Draw you into their life.
Yeah, and I'm eating their ice cream, and I'm eating them out of house and home, and I'm filling the tacos back up, but like I'm really like, they're not asking nothing of me. They're not asking me to sign nothing. They're not asking me to do nothing or take pictures. I'm just like sitting around, and I'm petting their cats, and I'm hanging out,
Yeah, right. But the lesson of, as you put it, let go, was coming through.
Yeah, that's all I kept hearing.
But not just let go, but reach out, right, to someone who's reaching out to you.
The reach out had happened for me.
Yeah.
I was already there. I had nowhere to go. This was the last stop on the train. There was nowhere else to go. In every sense, it was like, I know now, like my God was using my ego to draw me to him, was drawing me away from worldly desires. It was all happening simultaneously, but there would have been no impetus for me to get in the car and drive up here if I didn't think, oh, I'm gonna save my career. And what happened to me when I got here is a switch happened. It was like 3-card Monty. It was like somebody tricked me into it.
Yeah.
It felt like. Not in a bad way, in a way that like I couldn't see it. I was so close to it, I couldn't see it. I see it differently now because time has passed. And anyway, so I'm hanging with Brother Jude, and then Brother Jude gets called away, and he has to go like be an archivist somewhere. So he's got no time for me. And another man enters the fray named Brother Alex, and Brother Alex has a totally different energy.
Young guy, he's about your age.
He's my age.
Yeah.
Super austere.
Yeah.
Very prayerful.
Yeah.
And I don't know nothing about prayer because I can't cultivate an unforgiving. I don't know anything about silence. I don't know anything about quiet. I don't know anything about it. I got a cell phone in my phone that will give me everything my ego needs. It's buzzing all the time. I got all this, there is no silence, or I don't know anything about meditation. Meditation at this point in my life feels like a self-imposed timeout. Prayer feels like I'm memorizing somebody else's words, like I'm an actor, like I'm doing monologues for myself in my head. And Alex says, just go into that chapel and just shut up.
Where the Blessed Sacrament is.
Yes,
Yeah.
and just sit there. Just sit there and be quiet. And that feels like a very strange thing to tell me, and I'm also rebelling. And right around this time, you and the deacons show up for like this deacons meeting.
Well, that's the first time I met you.
It's the first time I meet you.
Okay.
The deacons are all hanging out at the church.
Right.
And I feel like, oh, this is like, wow, it's amazing. I get to sit in here, and I feel like I'm not allowed to be there, but then all the deacons are like being really warm with me, and I'm sitting in the back.
It was Mass first, right?
It's Mass.
Then,
We do Mass, and then we go like have a little sandwich.
Right.
And you do this talk about prayer.
Yeah.
And how it's really a simple 4-step process, prayer, and I needed somebody to simplify it for me, because it felt like, one, I needed it to be defined. I didn't want it to be this esoteric. I needed something very defined and very practical. I needed something very like boots on the ground. And you said, quiet leads to loving thoughts leads to loving action leads to peace. And that hit me heavy.
It was Mother Teresa I was quoting there. That's
whoever it was, it's changed my life. So then you go into pray rosary.
Yeah.
And I'm just learning rosary at this time. I know the front half. I don't know all the prayers. I can do, I can get to the middle of the rosary. I don't know the dismount prayers, but I have enough to like, it pauses my head, which I guess what rosary does for a lot of people. It makes it tactile.
It's a great prayer, right?
It takes me out of the cognitive and it puts me into the physical. It physicalizes it. And for somehow that pauses all of my internal nonstop chitter-chatter monologuing of what I want, what I need, and this animal in me.
It calms the monkey mind. That was Merton's line that he got from the Buddhists, actually. The monkey mind's always leaping around.
Yes.
Here, and it calms that. It calms that and centers it.
Yeah, and makes me feel present because it's right here.
Right.
I can hold it.
You hold it in your hand.
Yeah.
Right.
And so we're praying the rosary, and I'm waiting for loving thoughts, and it's not my first or second or third or fourth or fifth or sixth or seventh thought. But then I hear a thought like, call your mother, tell her you love her. Now, me and my mother at this time, my mother don't want nothing to do with me. You know, the news that had come out has been like I've been abusive to women, and I've been shooting dogs, and I've been willingly giving women STDs, and like it's disgusting. It's depraved. And my mother is embarrassed beyond all imagination. She doesn't want nothing to do with me. And we hadn't talked, and I'm living in this parking lot. And I get out of rosary with you, and I call my mother, and I say, I don't have much to say to you, but I love you and I'm safe. And she said, oh, I'm so grateful. And she hangs up the phone, and it's the first time I had really like talked to my mother, and I felt this peace. Because I had all this resentment and animosity, like, how could you dip on me? You're my mother. No matter what happens, like, this is conditional love that you offer me. So, then I start reading the Confessions by Augustine and his mother and that relationship. And everything starts to feel like click, 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 click.
Right.
And Augustine being like a hedonist who had made all these flaws. And then they started explaining Francis to me and all this ego that was in Francis. Just a complete egomaniac.
Same story, right.
Yeah, like, and I start feeling all these connections, and I start seeing this route, and and it says let go, and I find a way for myself.